Disney Dreamlight Valley has been one of my favorite games for quite some time, as I've always enjoyed expressing my creativity through valley builds and Dreamsnaps. That said, there's a bit more going on under the hood of this cozy game than many new players would suspect. And when I started playing at the beginning of Early Access, there are certainly more than a few things I wish I had known from the start. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things I wish I knew when I first started Dreamlight Valley. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that I'm a small full-time content creator, so every like on this video can make a tremendous difference for me. Consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. If you would like to catch more of my content, you can find me live on Twitch Monday through Friday. Links to both my Twitch channel and Discord server can be found in the video description down below. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Considering I put out a lot of Dreamlight Valley content, it's not uncommon for me to have new players asking me for tips and advice. And there is one tip in particular that I always open with. Proffesion assignments are extremely important. Back when I first started, I had a bit of a habit of assigning professions to villagers based on what I thought they would want to do. I made Merlin and Mother Gothel foragers due to their affinity for magic and potions. Scrooge became a mining companion due to his love for riches. And Goofy was assigned the role of fisherman, considering it's one of his favorite pastimes. Little did I know, I would have to spend tens of thousands of Dreamlight to later remedy this mistake. The game doesn't exactly spell this out for you, but some professions are far better than others, and the more villagers you assign to the same profession, the more efficient they all become with that profession. For example, one mining villager in your valley gives you a 25% chance for +1 bonus resources. That chance is increased by 3.5% for every level the villager has, with a maximum of +35% at level 10. So one level 10 mining companion yields a 60% chance for +1 bonus resources. However, you also get an additional bonus for each inactive mining villager, meaning the ones that you're not currently hanging out with. This bonus provides a +1 chance per friendship level of all the inactive mining villagers. This means you'll get an extra 10% chance for bonus resources for every level 10 mining companion in your valley. But the fun doesn't stop there. The number of bonus resources you receive can also be impacted. 5 level 10 mining villagers will grant a 100% chance for +1 bonus resources. But for each mining villager you add after 5, you'll receive a 10% chance for +4 bonus resources. So if you have 15 level 10 mining villagers in your valley, you'll always get +4 bonus resources. From 16 to 24 mining companions, you'll get a 10% chance for +9 bonus resources. This means if you have 25 mining companions, you are guaranteed +9 bonus resources 100% of the time, assuming they're all level 10. For the most part, these numbers apply to all professions, with the exception of gardening, which has a slightly lower base chance for bonus resources. Now, you probably don't want to listen to me go over all of these numbers, so for your convenience, I've provided a link down below to the Dreamlight Valley wiki that completely breaks down the profession bonus system. As far as which professions you should focus on, that's mostly going to come down to your playstyle. Personally, I'm big on crafting, and a lot of the items I enjoy making and using require iron and rare minerals. So I have 25 mining companions giving me a guaranteed +9 whenever mining. Aside from that, most of my villagers are time benders. If you're a newer player looking to make loads of star coins quickly, reinforcing your number of gardening companions can yield huge profits. If you're in the mid-game and you have the Eternity Isle expansion, bolstering your number of time benders can help you generate massive amounts of mist. Like I stated previously, choosing which professions you assign to your villagers will largely depend on your playstyle and how you like to spend your time in the valley. The only profession I truly advise against focusing on would be foraging, as it's in desperate need of a buff to make it more viable. Foraging only grants bonus resources on fruits, herbs, spices, and mushrooms, which are all very easy to come by. Now, if foraging granted bonus resources on things like darkwood and/or flowers, I think it would be more worth it, but as it stands now, it's not a very useful profession, especially in the mid to late game. Keep in mind, you can always switch up your villager professions later by crafting training manuals and giving them to the villagers as a gift. In the early game, I had loads of gardeners to help with star coins, but in the late game, I found that I was hardly ever picking crops, so I used training manuals to convert most of my gardeners into mining villagers or time benders. In closing, you'll save a fair amount of resources down the road and generate far more resources in the present if you're strategic with how you assign your villager professions. Again, there is a link down below in the video description, which breaks down all of the numbers in a bit more detail. For now, let's move on to the next tip. My next word of advice for aspiring Valley enthusiasts would be a very simple 2 words: hoard everything. Now, I know this can be a bit tough in the early game when you don't have a lot of storage options, but hoarding items in Dreamlight Valley tends to always pay off. You may be tempted to sell those shiny gemstones you mined, or maybe swap out those blobfish for a nice chunk of star coins, but in the early game, I recommend against that. Hoarding nearly everything you find not only helps immensely with crafting, but it can also be very useful for leveling up your villagers and even completing star paths. Of course, this is due to the favorite gift mechanic. Giving your villagers favorite gifts provides a huge boost in friendship level, and giving villagers favorite gifts is also very commonly a task within star paths. Villagers love asking for things like flowers, shiny gemstones, and even a wide variety of cooked meals. The best way you can ensure you're ready and set up for success for any scenario would be to always have even more than you could possibly need stashed away in your storage. Now, this doesn't mean you can't sell some of these items down the road, but I would recommend having at least 2 stacks of just about everything in the game if you can manage that. Now you may be wondering, Senpai, if I'm just gonna hoard everything, how am I gonna make any money? How am I gonna get my star coins? How am I gonna get stuff from Scrooge? How am I gonna upgrade my house? And for that, I just recommend gardening. Gardening is extremely profitable, and it's something you can scale up throughout the game. As far as which crops to focus on, it mostly depends on which stage of the game you're currently in and which biomes you have unlocked. If you're still at the beginning of the game and just starting out, I recommend carrots. But whatever you move on to after carrots will depend more on your personal playstyle. There aren't really a lot of bad options when it comes to gardening in this game. Aside from cotton, just about everything makes good money. And while pumpkins are one of the most popular and sought after crops in the game, they actually don't yield as many star coins per minute as carrots and tomatoes. Yet, myself and most other players still prefer to harvest pumpkins when it comes to gardening revenue, because the only way you're going to make more money harvesting carrots would be to just continuously farm nonstop. If you're looking for advice on which crops you should be focusing on based on which biomes you have unlocked, I've included yet another valuable resource in the video description down below. Another link to the Dreamlight Valley wiki. This one takes you to a chart that shows everything you need to know about crop profitability, breaking down each crop's grow time, how many times they have to be watered, their seed price, sell price, profit, and exactly how many star coins per minute these crops produce. There really isn't a right or wrong way to go about this. A lot of newer players have asked me if they need to rush into unlocking the Forgotten Lands so they can start planting pumpkins sooner. And honestly, I would say no, I didn't play that way, but really it just comes down to how you want to play. If you want to go straight for the Forgotten Lands, go for it, but you can make plenty of money on other crops, and some can generate even more money than pumpkins if you're gardening enough. Just make sure you hoard a few of the veggies you like to sell as well, just so you have them on hand for different recipes and favorite gift requests. For my third tip, I recommend checking Scrooges Shop every day that you can. Now I know this may seem like an obvious tip, and most players rush right over to Scrooge's store the moment they boot their game up. But I advise taking it a step further if you can. Even if it's a day where you're not really going to have a chance to sit down and enjoy Dreamlight Valley, if you can take just 2 minutes, log into your game, and check the Scrooges Shop, it'll be an excellent use of your time and can even help you generate loads of moonstones. The absolute best way to get moonstones in Disney Dreamlight Valley, aside from opening your wallet, would be to perform strongly in Dreamsnaps. But one thing almost every new player struggles with when it comes to Dreamsnaps is a lack of viable items. If you don't have any of the decor or wardrobe items from the current Dreamsnap challenge that have at least 3 or 4 of the challenge tags, it can make performing in Dreamsnaps a bit more difficult. This is why it's incredibly important for newer players to check Scrooge's Shop every day they can. I would even go to take it a step further and recommend joining a few Discord servers where people commonly share the Scrooge Shop items they have in their store that they don't need. We actually have a channel dedicated to this in my Discord if you'd like to join. It's down below in the video description. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Level up your villagers quickly. Now I know this doesn't work with everyone's playstyle. Some people like to really take their time with their villagers, slowly doing their quests and just hanging out with them to get them to slowly level up. But there are some huge benefits to getting your villagers to level 10 quickly. Just like we discussed in the first tip, where we went over professions, the level of each villager has a massive impact on bonus resource generation. Not only that, but some of the rewards you get from the friendship quests play really well into Dreamsnaps. And getting your hands on some of these items a bit earlier can be the difference between having what you need for a Dreamsnap or not having what you need. So how do we level our villagers quickly? There are several ways to level up your villagers. Hanging out with them and focusing on their profession, giving them favorite gifts, serving them at either Remy's or Tiana's, and even beating them down in Scramblecoin. But none of these strategies really hold a candle to what I like to call spam gifting. Villagers can only receive up to 3 favorite gifts per day, but there is no limit to how many regular gifts you give your villagers. By far the most overpowered gift you can give your villagers would be the shiny gift. This is a craftable item that requires a shiny emerald, a shiny ruby, and wrapping paper. Unfortunately, wrapping paper is quite rare. It only spawns during the Christmas event, which thankfully is right around the corner, so keep your eye out for that. But if you can make shiny gifts, it only takes about 6 minutes and around 55 shiny gifts to get a villager from level 1 to level 10. Unfortunately, most players don't have shiny gifts. Other useful alternatives would be purified night shards, which can take around 12 to 13 minutes and a little over 110 purified shards. Now, other gifts scale the amount of friendship they get based on value, which would be their star coin value. So highly expensive meals, valuable shiny gemstones, all of these things can give a lot of friendship. But what if you don't have any of that extra stuff? What if you don't want to give away all your shiny gems and you'd rather use your dream shards for Dreamlight? One thing I found very useful for leveling up villagers in the early game was actually flowers. They don't sell for much, so you're not going to get a lot of friendship boost off of them, but they are very common. For me personally, early on in my playstyle, I had an overabundance of flowers, and I would commonly use them to quickly level my villagers. Now, just like a lot of the other tips we've covered today, what you choose to give your villagers to level them up is going to come down to your playstyle. Whatever you feel like you have enough of will suffice. Regardless of what resource you choose to give to your villagers, spam gifting is the fastest way to level up any newcomer in your valley. Of course, like I said at the beginning of this tip, this may not apply to everybody because I hear from a lot of players who like to take things slow and progress to level 10 friendship a bit more organically. The only reason I'm including this in here as a tip is because getting your villagers to level 10 as quickly as possible has some pretty tremendous benefits. And with that, it's time to move on to our final tip. Now, this last tip is a bit more personal. I don't think it's going to apply to everyone, but it definitely applies to me. As a gamer, I tend to get a bit hyperfixated on my favorite games, and I can play them to the point of nearly getting burnt out on them entirely. I've actually ran into this problem a couple of times with Dreamlight Valley, where I had just done everything I thought I could do, and I was running out of ideas or things to focus on, and it kind of killed my enjoyment of the game a little bit. To remedy this, I decided to approach the game with a somewhat simple concept: always have a plan. I find that when I go into Dreamlight Valley with a plan, whether that's completing my Dreamsnap or creating the ultimate Christmas Valley, having a plan or a goal to strive towards keeps me immersed in the game, it keeps me enjoying the game, and it keeps me satisfied with the game. Now, of course, you don't always need all the details of your plan. I never really have those. I just have like an idea of what I want to accomplish. I don't do like a 10-step plan or anything. It's more like okay, here's my goal, I'm going to work towards it. But I do find that having that goal, whatever that may be, helps to prevent me from getting burnt out, overwhelmed, or just simply bored. I feel like this can be especially important late in an update, like if it's been a couple of months since we had an update and you've already got the STARPATH and the new villagers and you've decorated with the new items. You may not see much of a point to turn the game on, but if you can come up with a goal or something to strive towards, maybe you want to redo one of your biomes, maybe you want to decorate the 20th floor of your house, or maybe you want to do some special builds inside of some of the premium homes. Whatever it may be, having a plan or a goal to strive towards in your play sessions can be quite beneficial, at least for me and my neurodivergent brain. And with that, we've covered the 5 things I wish I knew when I first started Dreamlight Valley. If you found today's video helpful, informative, or simply entertaining, please do me a very big favor and press that like button. Also, consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. Storybook Vale is almost here, and by the time you're watching this video, it might already be here. Either way, if you would like to enjoy this exciting new expansion live, consider joining our Twitch community. Links to both my Twitch channel and Discord server can be found in the video description down below. As always, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the future of Disney Dreamlight Valley. This week's YouTube video shoutout redeemed on Twitch goes to my good friend Always Be Silly. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in the community, and I hope you'll always remember you're a big part of what makes this community so special.